Folks, good evening. Welcome to the show. I'm Craig Shelton of HMW. This is Richard Big Walker of HMW, and we are coming to you today from the studios of the Houston Media Source. Of course, you're catching us right now. You know where it is. It's on UTN 15.2, and we appreciate you folks that made the move with UTN from 43.8 on over to the new trap, and that's what we're putting it down at. 15.2 right here. It is the Cut. We talk sports on this show, and folks, I promise you today, we've already determined that via Richard Walker's recommendation that the show will have a subtitle today. It is still the Cut. Mm-hmm. That's spelled with two T's. Mm-hmm. But you can go ahead and just say the Cut, aka ESPN has lost their damn mind. We'll tell you more about that in a few minutes. At the time this show was taped, the Texans were one day away from countdown to making a case for Case Keenum as the Texans' starting quarterback, which has already been determined, obviously, by Gary Kubiak on last week. But is Case the guy moving forward into the 2014 season? We'll see. For me, Richard, I'll say it really doesn't matter how well Case Keenum plays. Mm-hmm. If he plays out of his mind, mm-hmm. if I'm Gary Kubiak, if I'm Rick Smith, if I still have a job, I draft a quarterback. Mm-hmm. And I draft a quarterback as mm-hmm. early as I see it tenable mm-hmm. For the Texans in their circumstances going into the draft next season, because the theme of quarterback competition plays well, and I would think that you would be looking for a quarterback that's someone that has a skill set where you can kind of consolidate how you're going to design the team's offense. Exactly. And if a guy like Case earns that starting job, now you have an offensive system where Gary Kubiak has to morph his offensive system into a system that plays to the strength. Well, he's doing that now.
Change?
That plays to the strength of Case Keenum. Mm-hmm. And I'm an advocate for teams building. I've always said, if you go out and you get a Vince Young, you go out in the next year, you get a Tim Tebow to back him up.
Right.
You build your team at the quarterback position, being that it's the most important position on the field.
Yeah, absolutely.
You build your team depth-wise to support continuity in the game plan from week to week, regardless of who's back there. Your thoughts?
Yes, I agree 100%. And let's call it what it is. Case is a talent at this point. Mm-hmm. We don't know what he's going to bring to the table. Now, I honestly think, I think that 99.9% of people would agree that he's an upgrade over Schaub at this point right now, based on Matt's performance this season. Then Matt's got a huge $14.5 million cap number to consider next season. You got to think about how you're going to re-sign J.J. Watt. So he definitely needs to go. Let's just call it what it is. You have to draft a quarterback. You have to find your identity at that position, because that's something that they're lacking. If they're going to be serious about trying to turn this team into a competitor for a Super Bowl, you got to get that question solved as soon as possible. And then the thing to think about with the core group of players is that you're on the clock. Yep. There's no doubt about it. The window is getting a little bit smaller every year. So definitely, I would in that situation, I'd be pursuing a quarterback as early as possible.
And it's been reported that there are escalators in play here with Matt Schaub's pending contract for the 2014 season, and what that cap number would be ultimately as far as real money paid to Matt Schaub. There's also, from my understanding, $1 million incentive per game. that could escalate things to an astronomical number.
Wow.
It appears to me...
They threw a pick six with his contract.
It appears to me Matt Schaub, when the Texans re-signed Matt Schaub, it appeared to me that they were setting up for, look, you're either going to turn out to be Aaron Rodgers or Peyton Manning, or you won't be here for 2014. Forget what we thought going into this season.
Yep.
If you look at the way Matt Schaub's contract was structured, maybe the Texans are a little smarter than we give them credit for being. Let's be honest, nobody really had it pegged in that manner.
Right.
A lot of people had a lot of problems with extending this contract to even the numbers we thought were in play.
Right.
There are even bigger numbers in play.
Yep.
Which tells us that the team never intended to pay Matt Schaub beyond the 2013-14 season unless he turned into Aaron Rodgers,
right,
Peyton Manning, or Tom Brady.
Right, and they can pull the trigger on it now with
Drew Brees.
Right.
Yeah,
with
and that's it.
And 14
no other
and a half,
level of quarterback.
$14.5 million for an elite quarterback, had he panned out to be one, it's not a bad price to pay, considering that you got guys in the $20 million range. Flacco's getting 22, something like that a year. So it was a calculated risk, and I think it was a smart one. But I do think that Matt needs to go.
No doubt about it. Now, we talked to you a little bit about in the opening that the show has a subtitle today. If you didn't hear it, we'll give it to you again. It's The Cutt, a.k.a. ESPN has lost their damn mind. We're about to tell you why. We want to encourage you before we do that to go and check out our website. It's HoustonMediaWatch.com. That's the old www.HoustonMediaWatch.com. You will see our Twitter handles, Facebook handles, and how about Instagram?
Instagram,
right, man. I got on Instagram this week, and pretty cool. Matter of fact, I'm kind of doing everything from Instagram and just sharing it to all the other feeds, man. Pretty cool. So you'll see see it displayed there on the screen, how to get at us. Pretty easy. We love to kick it with you on social media, and so definitely get with us there. All right, let's get to this. ESPN.com, folks. ESPN.com gave their rankings for the NBA top players for the 2013-2014 season. Whatever drama you want to find within it, and what we will do tonight is we'll do two things. We'll discuss what made the main point that jumped out at us. Rather do me and Richard just 100% nail an issue with this much passion, but the fact that Kobe Bryant was ranked 25th just doesn't work for us. Now, he's a Laker fan. I'm an NBA fan, and I just love excellent players that achieve in any sport. So I love Kobe Bryant's game. I always have. So let's start here with it, okay?
Okay.
I'm assuming that when you make a list or a ranking like this, what you're doing is you're looking at it in terms within the parameters of a perfect world setting,
right? Because
you can't predict injury,
right?
And if you're going to rank a player at all, to me, no matter whether you rank him high or low, if he's ranked at all in the ranking, then he's being ranked under the terms that you're judging him based on what you think he will be at the top of his game. Right. Whether you associate the current injury and say, well, when he returns from this particular injury, the best he can be on that timeline for this season is whatever that number is, a percentage you give to that.
Right.
So any way you look at it is at their best. With what, if there are any asterisks that are applicable to it, they're there. Okay, Kobe's best this year is not Kobe's best for last year,
right? Because
he's a year older and he's coming off this injury,
right?
But even that being said, I don't see a scenario where Kobe Bryant comes back and is healthy enough to play that he's the 25th ranked player in the NBA.
Do you see why we said they lost their damn mind?
Now, to be fair and be objective, this is a subjective, opinionated situation to a point, but there's some annotated data that's in place that could could support the argument either way, really. Okay, and it has more to do with the fact that Kobe Bryant turned 35 in August. We'll get into all of that. I gave you my opening spiel about this. Richard will give you his now.
Okay, so apparently somewhere in the midst of analysis and heavy consumption of alcohol or some other type of mind-altering substance.
Maybe they were in the other bathroom on the other side of those 3 Texas smoking some type of organic herbicals or whatever it was.
I'm absolutely just... I'm at a loss for what the thought process was that to come up with this list, because
conversations like this all over America,
But in analysis, the last thing that we saw from these players last year, this is a list that I don't think that most of us would have come up with. Now, I think there's some guys obviously at the very top. Guys like LeBron. It's common sense. That's a no-brainer. But you got guys on the list that, honestly, probably in most people's minds,
Joakim Noah is above Kobe, and Joakim Noah is freaking awesome. But is he better than Kobe Bryant?
Come on,
this season. When
I'm
Kobe
sorry.
comes back this season,
I'll take Kobe in a walking boot over Joakim Noah. I'm sorry.
Well, Joakim Noah is a big that can do a lot for you on the floor. He plays bigger in big games. He's a guy that in the playoffs improves his game. He has that rare ability to kind of morph into what you need him to be. He's not known as a prolific scorer.
Right.
He's more of a defender, rebounder. But if you need scoring from him, he can give you scoring.
Yeah.
He runs the floor as
No, I'm
good
not
as
saying
any big man
he's
in the
bad,
game.
but just in terms of the overall impact on the game.
But
that's exactly
this
what I'm
year,
talking about. That's what I'm talking about this year. And remember, we're
if you're
following
from
the premise.
Chicago, you could probably say Kobe at 35 coming back from that type of injury had better not be a better player than Joakim Noah if I'm a Chicago fan.
If you're a Chicago fan, yeah.
You know what I mean? Let's look at some of the numbers associated with the Kobe Bryant argument that may play against Kobe.
Okay.
And it's not so much designed to play against Kobe. It's just designed to shed some facts on the 35-year-old NBA player, the 35-year-old superstar. Then you look at it in these terms, and I brought up Joakim Noah for a reason. The argument, the big versus the wing. And we're not talking, and on top of that, we're talking about a perimeter guy from the 2, not the 3 or the 4. So those are typically smaller guys.
Right.
Kobe 6'6", 6'7", okay? Noah, what, 6'11"? 6'11" athletic guy. NBA history tells us that guys past the age 35, when you start talking about top scorers, that plays more to the big guys. The 3 guys all time that fall in that realm as far as the top 3 scorers over the age of 35 in NBA history are Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the Chief, Robert Parrish, and Karl Malone. Only 11 of the top 30 scorers are guards. Think about that. Only 11 of the top 30 NBA players in history all time are guards. It's a big man game. You live a tall man's life. You 6'5". It pays to be a tall guy when you're talking about surviving in the NBA and playing at a high level. And if you really think about it, well, smaller people have to rely on what? Quickness, speed, athleticism. As that goes, as those things slow, you have to become a better pure shooter. There's no such thing as becoming a better pure shooter.
No.
You can become an improved shooter.
Right.
A pure shooter,
You either have it or you don't.
you're either a pure shooter or you're not.
Right.
Now, a pure shooter can improve on being a pure shooter.
A person
who's not pure as a shooter, I don't think you coach your way or shoot your way into that.
Not at
You know
35
what I mean?
anyway either.
Reggie Miller was a pure shooter.
Bird.
Was a pure shooter. Hakeem Olajuwon was a pure shooter. Ray Allen, pure shooter. Clyde Drexler, would light you up from anywhere on the floor. Wasn't a pure shooter.
Nope.
He improved his shooting touch over time. LeBron James would light you up from anywhere. It's not a pure shooter. So that, you know, Stephen Curry, that's a pure shooter.
Yeah.
Ask Chris Paul.
Oh yeah.
That's a pure shooter. His dad was a
Dale Curry
pure shooter.
was, yeah.
Dale Ellis, pure shooters.
Yep.
You have a lot of people that are not the best at what they did, that were just pure shooters. They weren't the best basketball players overall. Let me say that in that way. You know, Legler, pure shooter. Was Legs the greatest baller ever? Hell no.
Nope.
You know, but you got to have those guys on your roster. Michael Jordan ranked 3rd among shooting guards after the age of 35, only trailing behind Reggie Miller and Dale Ellis. There's an argument for Kobe. But it took Jordan. It took a guy to be Jordan to be able to do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, Kobe is that guy. And that I can understand the rankings and making a scientific argument. Boy, but my gut and my eyes, what I've seen from Kobe Bryant, I wouldn't want to be on the wrong side of a challenge with Kobe Bryant.
I wouldn't bet against him.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
So, you know, I just think when it's all said and done, I don't agree with the ranking.
Right.
I understand it. If I was in a debate contest and was told, Craig, you make this argument, I can make that argument based on, like what we said, you know, it's a subjective matter with some data that's there to take some of the subjectivity out of it, to be able to say, yeah, but the numbers don't lie, because we got a game that's been around long enough to say, well, hey, these are what the numbers say. So, you know, all right, folks, how about that for a first segment? We're going to run to a break. When we come back, what we'll do is we'll look a little bit deeper and take a look at that first 10, the top 10 people, NBA players that were ranked by NBA.com. I'm sorry, by ESPN.com for the top 10 NBA players for 2013. And Richard and I, we took a glance at that. We had some problems with it. And we'll look at that, and then we'll look at the rest of the list maybe next week. But we'll look at the top 10 when we come back right here on The Cut.